everybody. Happy Monday. This is Real Talk with Love. I am Coach Barbara. Happy to see you this evening. Come on in. Come on in. We're listening to Sisters at the Well by Brannis McKenzie. Hey, Erica. Glad you are right on cue. Thank you. Hey, Charlene. And my Coralie from the Bahamas. Love you. This is Brannis singing to us. Brannis McKenzie's from Oakland, California. So do me a favor as we're waiting for just a minute or so. Hit the share button for us, please. Thanks, Charlene. I know you always do. Share it. Invite some other folks to come in. Come in to the metaphoric well today. Love this song. Thank you, Charlene, for that beautiful compliment. Thank you. Hold on to the best who you are. Hope everybody had a good weekend. In the midst of everything we're going through, I certainly hope that at least you had a moment to breathe, catch your breath. It was tough here in Atlanta, but we are okay. Glad you're here. We're gonna get started in just about 30 seconds or so. Happy Monday once again. Hey, Jessica. Glad you're here. Is that my niece? Oh my goodness. How are you, my love? I'm going to turn Brannis down a little bit. Brannis McKenzie always sings us in to our session. Brannis is a songstress out of Northern California, Oakland. Hi, James. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. I'm Coach Barbara, and this is Real Talk with Love. This is our 11th week. We've been gathering at what I call the metaphoric well for the last 11 weeks since we've been sheltered in together. And some people actually think we're no longer sheltered in, but we are here in this part of the world in Atlanta. Although they're claiming the city is open, some of us know better, and so we're staying put. And I hope that you are considering the same. It's been a rough weekend, just trying to wrap the mind around all of the emotional stuff that's going on. It's been a rough weekend. But there's always hope, right? And when we come together on Mondays, we try to find something that we can talk about that inspires us and pushes us further along, even in spite of what's going on around us. Hi, Gwen. Hi, Cheryl. Hey, do me a favor, guys. Would you all hit the share button just before we get started on our topic, and make sure we invite some other folks to stop in. We're only here for 30 minutes, but I have a pretty full 30 minutes for you this evening. Hi, Sharon. So we changed our format. You know, I usually take one question before we get started on today's topic. And so I'm going to read the question that was sent in. And real interesting also. But I'm going to go from that question right into our topic, which we're talking about tonight. We're really talking about this secret I think folks are trying to keep, that we are in a recession. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. And I have some really important information I want to share with you, okay? But the question that was sent in is by a young sister who says she doesn't necessarily want to go out and protest, but she agrees that everybody needs to do something. And her question is, what can I do to help the Black agenda? What can I do to help the Black agenda? That's the question that came in today. And I thought that's a pretty interesting question and a pretty wide open question. Hey Deb, hey Jordan. Wide open question. What can I do to help the Black agenda? So I asked Kelsey, my daughter, a little while ago, I said, if someone asked you that, what would you say? And her first response was, which agenda? And I thought that was really, really a good place to start. So, which Black agenda are you talking about? Right? Because I'm not so sure that we have one singular agenda. We have had an agenda for 400 years as a people. And that agenda is complex, and it appears that it's getting even more complex every single day. But however you identify that agenda, and certainly we all have our different views on what's most important. What I would offer as an answer to that question is that you think about what's going on near you, what's happening in your community, what's happening in your city or your state that pulls on your heart and inspires you or pushes you to want to do something about it. If there's something tugging at you, then I would say that that's the first place to start in terms of a Black agenda. I also would offer that you think local. Not necessarily think small, but think local. What's right around you? What can you put your hands on right away? So I have a couple of things I'd offer. The first thing that comes to mind, and we can't say it enough in communities, so hit the share button, make sure this goes out. Please hit the share button right now. You want to make sure that you are for certain that you are registered to vote in the city that you're living in. And if you're not, that you have a mail-in ballot. If you happen to be away from home because of COVID-19, you might be someplace else temporarily. Make sure that your ballot is coming to you, that you get access to that. If you want to move the Black agenda forward, you start locally. What's right here around you. Hey Willa, hey Mitty. Make sure that you're registered to vote, and make sure you check. If you were registered the last time, that's fine. I need you to check again, because there's some shenanigans going on. I don't know if you've been keeping up with it, but especially here in the South, in Atlanta, in Georgia, it's on steroids. Shenanigans on steroids. So you have to make sure that you are registered, that you know your precinct, that you also get a ballot in the mail, because you have to stack the deck against voter suppression. The other thing you can do is make sure that you are counted in the census. That's a real easy do. Go to online, you can do it in 10 minutes. Go to my2020census.gov. my2020census.gov, and you can 10 minutes and you're finished. Really, really important. The resources that communities need, underserved, underrepresented communities, you call it the Black agenda, but those communities only get the resources they need when the census are counted correctly. Everybody has to be counted. Every child, every breathing person in the house. So those are a few things that you can do to move the Black agenda forward. In terms of if you're looking for something else, you don't have to look for something big like the big march in New York or the big march in DC. There are things you can do locally that will have a significant impact globally, really, but certainly across this country. Join an organization, support an organization that's doing some of this work. Thank God for some of our civil rights organizations that have been around doing the work. The National Coalition for Civic Participation, NAN, National Action Network, NAACP, Black Voters Matter. These are just a handful of organizations that are really doing good work. Support them. Send them $10 and make it consistent. Send them $10 every month, right? Just be consistent with it. So that's my answer. What can you do to move the Black agenda forward? That's my answer. Start locally. Start at home. Make sure all the people in your house are voting. Make sure all the people in your house are counted. Right? Those are things you can do. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Linda and Juanita and James. Thank you all for coming in. I'm going to start with tonight's topic. But first, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, I'm Coach Barbara. I'm an author, a business owner, and I am the founder of Sisters at the Well. Sisters at the Well is a collaboration of about 600 women. We meet periodically, twice a year, usually face to face, but now during COVID, we are meeting like this, and it's wonderful. We are touching each other on a regular basis, checking in and supporting each other. And so Real Talk with Love is presented by Sisters at the Well. So I'm glad you've joined us this evening. I'm going to take maybe about 20, 25 minutes or so and talk to you about this thing that I believe folks are trying to keep a secret somehow, that we are in a recession, and we have been in a recession since February. Did you know that? We have been in a recession since February. And it's not to be taken lightly. In fact, it's so serious that we are quickly sinking into a depression. We have had 2 quarters of unbelievably serious financial problems. Thank you, Juanita. She said the sound is low. Let me see if I can, excuse me a moment, let me just see if I can turn it up a little bit. And I'll speak with my outside voice. Is that a little better? Give me some hearts or thumbs up if you can hear me better now. I'll just speak a little louder. So, again, we're talking about this recession that we are in. And I am offering to you that we have to survive this thing. There have been, in my lifetime that I can recall, this would be now the 4th recession that I could, as an adult, I could think about. The first one being actually I was graduated from high school in 1975, 73 and 75. It was the oil crisis in the U.S. And the oil crisis in the U.S. lasted for 2 years. And it was bad. I graduated in 1975 and there were no jobs to be had. other than fast food and what we now call essential workers. Those were the jobs that were being offered around that time in 1975 because we were in the middle of a recession. And that lasted, as I said, for 2 years. And then in the early 90s, we were in the savings and loan crisis. And for those of you who could remember that, I had just moved recently to California. And during the savings and loan crisis, 1,000 banks went under, right? 1,000 banks. That's a lot. That was 1990 and 91. And then the big one was what they call the Great Recession. And that was in 2008 and 2009 when the mortgage crisis hit. And that particular recession took a lot of black families out. We lost wealth in that recession unbelievably. And it took the real estate market at that time, so many blacks, and most of us have gotten our growth, our financial growth through home ownership. When I was coming up, that was taught. We worked towards being homeowners. That was something that was not optional. You worked towards that. You looked forward to owning your piece of property. And so all those families, and Big Mama had a house and Mama had a house. I remember my grandfather used the GI Bill and bought the home that we grew up in. And we grew up in that home, 2 families, my grandfather and his 2 daughters, my aunt, my mother, and both their children. We grew up in one home so that we can begin to distribute wealth within our families. So 2008 and 2009, the recession, the housing market, impacted so many families, including my own. My husband and I we had chosen real estate as our, and I'm going to use this word intentionally, we had chosen real estate as our side hustle, right? Because everybody needs a side hustle. I'm going to come back to that. Hey, Stacy and Tracy, I'm glad you guys are on. So in the late 90s, early 2000s, Stan and I started investing in real estate, and we were flipping one piece of property every year to the tune of 12 pieces of properties. And we amassed a significant amount of real estate assets. The market crashed. And when the market crashed, like so many other people, we had rental property. And like so many other people, when I tell you we got slammed as a family. I had a career as a flight attendant. My husband was a fireman. But we had invested heavily in the real estate market. And for a lot of years, it did very well for us. 2008, 2009 took a lot of people out. And I am telling you, the recession that we're in today has the potential to do the same thing. I read a report. Forbes magazine put out a report, and it talked about especially black women owned businesses, which is the fastest marketplace for small business owners. But at the end of the prediction is that at the end of COVID-19, that 50% or even greater of the businesses that are open and doing well prior to COVID will be closed. They will be out of business. And that you're talking about over almost 37 million people filing for unemployment, out of work. That is a lot of jobs. So this recession is not a secret, and we can't act like it. And let me know if hearts, If you are good, you don't have to worry about it. Then maybe this is just a conversation that you're just sitting in on. But for those of us who know that at the end of this recession, which by the way, could go on for 6 to 9 months, maybe longer. I just shared with you 1973 through 1975, the oil crisis, right? The mortgage debacle, 2 years, really longer than that, 2 years for us to get through it. And then, and I'm only using my family, as I said, we were invested heavily in real estate. It took us 8 years to pull out and to get back on our feet and to get back in the marketplace. So I'm telling you, this recession that we're in is nothing to not pay attention to. We all need to pay attention to it. And the most important thing we have to do is we have to make a shift, a huge change in what we're doing at the moment. This is not financial counseling, by the way. Let's get that straight. I'm not offering you any financial advice. There's a whole bunch of folks out here who can do that. But I will give you what I think are perhaps 7 or 8 tips for surviving this recession. 7 or 8 things that I think are important for you to consider. If it's good information for you, I'm grateful. Take it, do what you need to do. If it's not, if it doesn't apply to you, maybe you can share it with somebody else. In fact, you can do that now. Hit the share button so that someone else can get the information. But the first thing we have to do is we got to change some things that we're doing. So here are my 7 tips, and I'll give them to you one at a time. Here are my 7 tips for surviving this recession. The first tip, and I asked Kelsey this earlier, I said, what do you think the first tip is? And she gave me her answer, and I said, well, you got to be alive to do that. The first tip to surviving this recession is to stay alive. COVID-19 is not over. It is not over. I don't care that it's coming up on a wonderful summer. I don't care if the weather is beautiful. I don't care if the airplanes are starting to fly again. COVID-19 is not gone, folks. Hey, Teresa, Tiffany. It's not gone. Guess what? The numbers are going up again, as predicted. As predicted. And newsflash, there's some folks in the world who don't care whether or not we're here or not. They don't care if we're not here. You know what they opened first? They opened the beauty shop, the nail shop, the tattoo parlor, and now they're working on the bars and the nightclubs. Because guess what they think? They think that that's where we're headed. I'm just going to let that sit for a minute. If it's the truth, tell somebody. COVID-19 is here. And as we talked last Monday, when we go to the hospital, they send us home. They test us and they send us home. That's what happens in the Black communities, which is why 23% of the cases are African Americans. Over 23% of the deaths from March to now due to COVID-19 have been Black people. They send us home. So last week we talked about being prepared to open up your own urgent care in your own house. Your own urgent care, having your things that you need, and we've had time now. We know some of what we need to have to take care of ourselves because they're going to send you home if something happens. So the first thing, surviving the recession, is you got to live. You got to get to the other side. The second thing is we got to set an intention. When we get through this, what do you want to do? What has COVID-19 exposed for you? There were some holes there, right? We couldn't go to work. We couldn't go out. This is before stimulus money and the PPP and all that stuff, right? We had to think long and hard about how we were going to make it to the end. I know I did, and I don't know anybody else's story for real except mine. But when I thought about it, and I knew, so I came home on March 11th, and I knew by March 20th, let's say, that every job that I had booked for 6 months, I was going to have to cancel because they all required travel. Thinking about that made me think further and said, now, how does my life change if for the next 6 months I'm not bringing in an income? How does my life change? I'm asking you now, what has COVID exposed for you? If it exposed the lack of being really prepared for 6 months financially, then perhaps setting an intention to have 6 months of expenses tucked away. What I've done since then, I created myself a recession fund. I'll tell you a little more about that. So set an intention. What is your, number 3, what is your plan of action for getting to your goal and your vision? You gotta have a concrete plan. It can't be just, when I get through this, I'm gonna try to put some money away, and yes, I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna get ready to do, and I'm gonna do, and no, you have to have a concrete plan. So part of my concrete plan is, I created for myself now, this is only since March, a recession fund. So all the money that I have not spent on getting my nails done, my pedicure, my hairdo, which is why I look like a school teacher today, because I've been doing my own hair, all of that money is in the bank. I have pulled it out of my normal budget and I've put it aside in what I've called my recession fund. So I'm so proud of it. I got about $900 in my recession fund just from nails, hair, and pedicure. I've set a specific intention and I've set it for the rest of the year. I don't intend to sit in a beauty shop, and I love, my hairdresser, and Tiffany is on and she's my braider. Now she might be the one I may slip and let braid my hair sometime between now and the end of the year. But I'm not in a rush because COVID is still present, which means some of us have had to shift gears and do something else, get another side hustle. So set an intention and a plan for how you're going to get there. The next thing, and I'll do these 2 quickly. Name 3 things that you will do differently that will bring you closer to success when you get through this. And I use 3 because it's a spiritual number, actually, 3 and 7, but 3 in particular. It's a spiritual number. It means inspiration, creativity. What are you going to manifest? 3 things. Write it down. Hi, Bernita. What are you going to do so when you come out of this thing, there's 3 new habits that you've created for yourself that points you closer to your success? And then likewise, what 3 things can you take off? So I did something, mine. I went through and I canceled my LA Fitness, which I'm going to tell you the truth, I really wasn't using it like I should have been. But I realized I was spending $70 a month since I joined this club for the last 2 years, and I might have used it 10 times, maybe. Cancel. Guess where that $70 is going? into my recession fund. I just did that last week. Another thing I did, these are things, 3 things you can stop doing. Another thing I stopped doing, and I was amazed. The 3 credit cards that I use, and I would sometimes pay them more than, of course, the minimum payment. But what I realized is I was paying interest. So somebody in the middle between me and the credit card company was getting my money. I decided I'm not paying interest anymore to anybody. Well, my mortgage people, because of course I can't pay that off right now. But the interest that you pay on these cards and the fees that you pay, I'm not paying them anymore. So 3 things that you can change and you can stop that will lead you closer to your success. Now, next thing, 2 more. Set a savings goal. Well, we talked about this a little bit for the recession. As I told you, I call it my recession money, right? Now, some of y'all, some of us, we've gotten some money that we didn't expect to get. Some stimulus money. Some have gotten some unemployment money because you were in the gig, fields. You're a contract worker. Some money that you didn't expect to have. How about saving half of it? You didn't expect it. How about sticking that into your recession fund? So when you come out of this thing, you have some money set aside. Tracy, yes, good thing to do. Put some things in the thread that you can do. She said negotiate your interest rates with some of these credit cards, because you shouldn't be paying no 27% interest on anything, right? So call them and tell them I'm closing my account unless you lower my interest rate. So if you're getting some stimulus money, some money you didn't anticipate, if you got some money, put some aside. And then the last thing in terms of the tips, get you a partner. I'm not going to call it an accountability partner. I'm going to call it a fun partner, a recession survival partner. Get a partner. I got a couple of partners. There's a little group of us, actually. I talked to one of my partners today, Miss Cheryl Brownlee. I said, how much you got? Right? We have our little recession fund thing going on where it's like when we can save money somewhere, we get real happy, right? We get real happy. And so you can do that. Get a partner, someone that you can share it with. You're not doing it to tell your business what you're doing, but you're saying, let's encourage each other. Oh, good things. Put things on automatic payments so you don't forget and miss the dates. Bernita said, negotiate your car payments and your mortgage loan. Yes. Do some of that. These are all good things that people can do. But I say get you a partner, someone that you can have fun with. And then there's a sister, I want to shout her out today. In fact, I'm going to show you her book. I took her class. And I'm taking more of her classes. This sister is Dr. Lynn Richardson. And she advocates for home-based businesses. And I'm telling you, I ordered 3 of her books. I took her webinars, Dr. Lynn Richardson. Check her out. She doesn't even know I'm saying this, but I am on her webinars like you won't believe. And home-based business, she's a huge advocate, tells you how to do it, all the tips for how you save your money. I think she said it's 475 deductions that you can take when you have a home-based business, and everybody needs to have one. So here's my last little piece before we close up for the evening. These are what I call bonus things you can do. We're in a recession. We want to come out of this recession standing. We don't want to get knocked down by this thing. Another thing, me and Kelsey had this big conversation today. Another thing that we got to do, we got to believe in, what do you call it, Kelsey? Group economics, right? Where we're helping each other, right? Maybe you can go in together and do things together, right? Shared economics, buy black, right? And negotiate. You're supporting and you're being supported, right? You're supporting your community. Pay off some debt. Again, I'm going to talk about that extra money that we're getting that maybe we didn't expect to get. Pay some debt down. Pay it down to a point where the interest is not killing us, because a lot of times we're paying interest and the principal is not moving. So get to that point where you're paying a little extra on the principal. Cash is king in a recession. Cooperative economics. I couldn't think of the word, Tracy. Thank you. Cash is king in a recession. You have to have cash money to be able to do anything. When you come out of this, there are going to be some opportunities when you come out of this, by the way. And the opportunities available will be available to those who have cash. So save your money. Save your money. And then the other two last things, for real, I'm going to talk about. This is a great time to build up some skills. I am taking these classes. I'm taking these free classes online. I have found a gold mine of free classes online. And I am shoring myself up. Because when I come through this, I love being a life coach. Y'all know I've been a coach for 20 years. And call me if you need a coach. Please do. I'm taking new clients. But there might be some other things I decide to do when I come out of this. So I'm taking some courses. Every Saturday, I take one free course. And I'm not promoting the people that I'm taking the courses from, but I will tell you, go online and find some. I have always had, for 25 years, I've had either some support staff, folks who help me do the work. I registered today. Thank you, Coralie. I registered today to take a suite of courses that would normally cost $499. They cost me $50. And it's to become proficient in Microsoft Office for myself, so that I'm not stuck with learning how to do things. Excel, spreadsheet, and the whole Office suite. For $50, I'm going to be taking those courses. I registered today. And every Saturday night, okay, I'm going to tell y'all this. Every Saturday night, I take one course offered by the Small Business Administration, the SBA. I take a course every Saturday. It takes me about an hour to take a course. And when I'm finished, I print out my certificate. Did y'all hear that? I'm not going to repeat it. If you got it, great. But that's not the only place where you can get free courses. They are everywhere. You're home. This is an opportunity to strengthen your skills, become proficient in some other things. I am telling you, this is a good time while you're home, but it requires some discipline, because, we're home and we kind of want to be on Zoom all day, and, it's just a million things to do. But nope, I carve out my Saturdays to get my education. I'm in class on Saturdays now. Okay, here's for sure my last thing. If you don't have one already, get a side hustle. Get yourself a side hustle. There is something else you can do. We have always heard that you need multiple streams of income. And we clearly know now, if we were mistaken before, one job is not going to do it. And we have seen, even if you are an essential worker, that one job can be impacted by something like this. Who knew? So get yourself a side gig. You know you're good at something. God gave us all multiple gifts. Figure out what yours is. Don't look left. Don't look right. Don't look at what other people are doing. And don't be a hater when you see people doing stuff. Figure out what God has given you, uniquely you, and do your thing. My daughter is making waist beads, and I thought that was so cool. And so we are now, she got a little craft shop going on in the house, and it's beautiful. If you need waist beads, holler at me. I'll make sure she gets your information. But we are all doing something else. So that's what I have today. Reminder, we are in a recession. The way to get out the recession is you got to get through COVID. You got to live. Don't act like you don't know that this thing is still rampant. Wear your mask. If folks are around you, you tell them they got to wear a mask. Wear your gloves and minimize your exposure. Don't just be running around like nothing's happening. And there's nothing in the mall, there's nothing in the mall you have to have, I don't believe. Okay, let me stop preaching. It was great having you on. Greta, I see you. I love what you're doing. Greta is doing her thing online. Greta Wallace, honey, she is doing her thing. She has her showcase online and we can shop. Juanita Wright is doing her final touch cakes. You can order the cakes. She puts them in the mail to you. I mean, all these folks are doing their thing. God gave you the talent. Use it. Yes, we're going through a rough time right now, but we're coming out of this. We're coming out of this, and I hope we come out stronger. I'll see you on the other side, and I'll see some of you next Monday. Please share this. Do a watch party with some of your friends. I love you on purpose, as Charlene would say. And again, I'm Coach Barbara, and this is Real Talk with Love, and it's been my pleasure to have you on this evening. God bless you, and good night. Hey, Tammy Lee. Good night, everybody. Thank you. Do remember to share it, okay? Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.